Hey everyone, today we're going to take a look at the Marvel Legends 85 Years Spider-Man Retro Card Venom action figure. As usual, please like, share, comment, subscribe, or even hit the super thanks button. I do appreciate all engagement on my channel. Now this figure is slightly bigger than usual, but he still comes on the same regular size Spider-Man Retro Card. The artwork of the figure over here on the left is nicely drawn, with the figure also displayed clearly on the plastic bubble and the additional Marvel 85 Years sticker over here. Now onto the back of the card, the same artwork of the figure, a schematic of how you're gonna use his accessories with the figure, and a description of the figure at the bottom. So let's go ahead and get this one open. And using a hobby knife to slice the plastic bubble neatly off the back of the retro card back. Venom comes with two alternate fists that are cast in a black plastic and white paint for the patches on the back of his hands. These two alternate fists articulate in and out. He also comes with a new head sculpt. This one is inspired by the McFarlane style. Head is cast in a black plastic, clean and sharp white paint for the very big expressive eyes, and some more colors for the teeth and the gums. I like how he's got textured sculpting over here for his furrowed brow, and a bit of wrinkling above his upper lip. But what is slightly distracting and a strange choice is that weird tooth gap down the middle. The alternate head and the fists pop onto the figure just fine. And here's a quick comparison with the previous McFarlane-inspired head sculpt on the Absorbing Man Build-A-Figure Wave Venom. The new head sculpt is bigger and more proportional to this larger body, and there are also a couple of differences in the choices of sculpting and paintwork on the two head sculpts. This one being smaller because this body is slightly shorter. The new retro-carded Venom reuses a lot of parts from the Venom that was released in the Symbiote 3-pack. The only newly sculpted part is his entire torso. Everything else from the head to the arms and the legs are all reused. The clear difference is in the engineering of the torso joints. On the 3-pack Venom we had a hinge at the mid-torso section followed by a swivel at the waist, but on the new one he's got a ball joint at the mid-torso section and a hinge at the waist. The Stegman style head sculpt is exactly the same, but there are subtle differences in the treatment, like the color choices in the plastic used for the tongue and the paint used for the eyes. On the new one it's cleaner and neater with the white paint, and on the older one it's kind of messier but has that nice shine with the pearlescent white. The definition in the teeth are also better compared to the old one where you can see every single individually sculpted tooth. The paint also seems a little neater. However, somehow the ends of the teeth look slightly blunter compared to the old one. But overall, I think the paint still looks a little too thick on the new one, looking like it's caked up on his teeth and gums. The torsos are both black plastic, with once again very neat and clean applications for that spider logo all the way across his entire torso. The spider logo is smaller on the new one, not necessarily bad, and the legs are also painted differently, spreading out higher, going just down the sides of his pecs, while the older one goes lower. I can see why they did it on the new one this way, just to keep the paint applications neat and clean on that same upper torso plastic piece. I also want to point out that while both torsos look proportionally similar, the sculpting on the new one is actually completely new. You can see that difference in the definition of the muscles. You can see that quite clearly in the different muscle definition on the new one. The paint finish on the new one is also probably better because it's more durable and scratch resistant compared to the old one. A lot of collectors face problems with the old one with the paint scratching off quite easily, and my copy over here probably looks different from what everyone has because I put on a flat top coat just to protect that symbol much better. The white patch on the back of his hands are also smaller compared to the older one. I think it's a matter of personal taste, but I do like the bigger patch on the older version. On the back of the figure, I do like how the logo is spread out much wider and looks more imposing. Being a newly sculpted torso as well, he doesn't come with those holes at the top that would have needed filling up with tendrils like the old one. And while the spider logo is a bit smaller on the old one, I think it's executed neater because it doesn't go onto those butterfly joints. When you have the butterfly joints pushed all the way forward on the new one, it looks kind of a little messy with those legs sprawled all over the place. And when we go down to his legs, there really isn't much to talk about because they're both bare black plastic and exactly the same sculpt. But we do see the same level of muscle definition, so there's no degradation in the same mold that they're using. For articulation, the head is on a double ball dumbbell joint, so he does get some sideways wiggle, going all the way 360, looking down into his chest just fine because that's where his chin already hits his pecs, but looking up is where it gets really disappointing, and that's as much as he looks up. And that's because on the double ball dumbbell joint, there is no notch on the back to give more range upwards that we see on the Spider-Man action figures. And this lack of upward range is problematic, and I'll show you why later on. He's got the same butterfly joints that give him a good range, bending forward that much, as well as backward a fair bit. And this is good for more expressive action stances. Swivel hinge at the shoulders that go 360, as well as coming out that far with an upper bicep swivel. Double hinged elbows with the pins still exposed, and you can get about that much range beyond 90 degrees. Swivel hinge at the wrist that goes 360, as well as going in and out that much. Mid-torso ball joint that gets you sideways wiggle, 360 spin, and combining with that hinge at the waist gets you very good forward bend, as well as very extreme backward bend. He's got ball joints at the hips that go out not that much, but I guess it's acceptable for a big guy like Venom, and forward and backward. Thigh swivel that goes 360, double hinged knees with the pins also still visible, and that's a very good range. Slightly disappointed that this is a new figure with some new sculpting, but Hasbro did not include some calf swivels. And at the ankles we have upward tilt that much, and down, and finally ankle pivot going out and in. So here's a quick comparison of that forward torso bending range. The new one clearly has much better range compared to the old one, and also looks more natural in that forward bend. However, all that utility is kind of negated because of his lack of upward range in his neck. The old one still has that hinge at the neck, and that means he looks up a very decent bit, especially when he's crouched and hunched over in an action stance. The new one just ends up looking down and looking very strange when you get him into that deep bending stance. So while I like the engineering in that torso bend much better, the neck is problematic and will definitely need some modifications to that neck to get him to look up. You can probably do that by cutting a notch at the back of his neck, but that will also come with a sacrifice to that sculpt on his neck. So here's a couple of head swaps. I put the new McFarlane style head on the old body. It works fine proportionally, but the ball joints are a slightly different size, so it might sit a little tight on this one. And I put the transforming Eddie head sculpt over here on the new body. This ball joint is slightly smaller, so the head is a little loose, but still sits fine on top. I still love this head sculpt the most. I think it's one of the best Venom head sculpts that Marvel Legends has produced. Here's a head swap with the Absorbing Man Build-A-Figure Wave Venom. Putting this one with the tongue and the green saliva on top. It looks a little small for this body, but I guess it's kind of fudgeable because Eddie Brock is much smaller as a human, and I don't think his head actually grows that much in size when he transforms into Venom, but the new McFarlane style head is a little too big for this old body. Now also popping on that human Eddie Brock head from the Monster Venom Build-A-Figure Wave Venom. I think it looks a little small for the body, but once again, it's a human Eddie Brock's head, so it's supposed to look small on the enlarged transformed Venom body. And here he is with the head sculpt from the Venom and Null 2-pack Venom. I think the head sculpt is proportionally okay with this body. However, that Venom was based off the movie Venom, so there's much more added texture to that head that really doesn't match up with the cleaner, smoother look on this Marvel Legends body. Venom stands at about 7 1/8 of an inch, and that's about 18 centimeters. And here he is compared to a lot of other Venom related action figures that I have. Naturally, Venom also towers over all Spider-Man figures. And here he is with the rest of the symbiotes, towering over all of them except Riot. For comparisons with other lines, here he is with G.I. Joe Classified Series and Star Wars Black Series. It's hard to recommend this figure. The new McFarlane style head sculpt is really cool and the new torso engineering is appreciated. However, the very limited neck joint nullifies the torso improvement, and Hasbro missed many opportunities to further improve engineering, like concealing the elbow and knee pins and adding a calf swivel. The overall value of the figure is just not there for me, especially if you already have prior Venom figures in your collection. But single-pack Venom figures rarely go to clearance, and it feels like Hasbro has done just barely enough to make sure this one sells out. Please like and share this video, let me know what you think in the comments below, subscribe to my channel, or even hit the super thanks button. Thanks for watching, take care, and stay safe.